Meet one-day-old cocoa. Tipped to be the next big, well, make that pint-sized attraction centre ring.
It was 7 o'clock this morning when we went round the usual watering and cleaning rounds. Suddenly noticed that one of the females wasn't coming down for a little bit of a titbit or something in the morning, and had a little bit of a closer inspection, and yes, she had something clinging to her.
Weighing only a few hundred grams, Coco is the first offspring for Susie and Nelson. Lennon Brothers Circus features 14 rhesus monkeys. Soon there'll be another star.
Well, basically, when they're young, we watch them and see what they do naturally, and we attempt to train via that. You know, some are good at balancing, others are good at tumbling or something along those lines.
Although it's only early days, Coco is showing all the signs of a real performer. He's got that animal attraction even the strongest of wills can't resist.
He's a good, healthy-looking young fellow, and the mother's looking fine afterwards, and yeah, he should go ahead really well.
So much limelight can make a newborn hungry, and the message was clear. Coco was getting impatient, and so was Susie. With such a protective mum around, you get the feeling Coco's career will be in good hands. Melinda Smith, NBN News.
For the first time, the Matara, Cathedral, Flower and the Derby Street Food and Wine Festivals will now come under the one banner. The combined event was launched in heavenly harmony at Christchurch Cathedral by a choir from Hamilton, Wallsend, Gateshead and Charlestown East primary schools.
We are very proud of it, and the fact is that it's a good party.
It wasn't without some tongue-in-cheek that this year's major sponsor addressed the gathering.
We've been seeking the support of telephone consumers in the area, and there's no such thing as a free sponsorship, so we obviously hope that support is forthcoming.
Launched in typical colourful fashion, organisers have included events to appeal to everybody. Music alone scales highbrow classical to country and rock. As always, family events will attract thousands to the foreshore over the week. Taken from the indigenous Awabakal dialect and meaning hand of friendship, Matara will extend the invitation to visitors, but Lord Mayor John McNaughton says the festival will always be Newcastle's celebration.
We enjoy having visitors, but it is our festival, and we like to share it with other people.
The springtime festivities begin on Saturday week.
Overseeing the project to build 6 fiberglass mine hunters for the Royal Australian Navy is a challenge Canberra-based Captain Mervyn Davis is relishing.
This is one of the largest projects in defence, and anything that size has got to be complex and therefore a challenge.
The wheels are already in motion, preparing the site for the construction complex at Throsby Basin in Carrington. Captain Davis inspected work with Australian Defence Industry staff and Navy officials during a familiarisation visit to Newcastle.
This building will come to fruition and you'll see a very large construction hall down towards the waterfront, the completion of the areas for launching, if you will, and increased employment opportunities.
By this time next year, one of the 50-metre-long hulls will be underway, with more than 350 workers employed during peak production. So far, about 60 people are working for ADI in Newcastle. The first of the mine hunters is due to be delivered to the Navy in 1998. Andrew Lobb, NBN News.
Throsby Creek has long been subjected to harsh criticism in relation to its less than friendly environmental state. Over the years, many efforts have been made for some serious cleaning. Recently, a Port Macquarie company, Burden Sands, moved in to rid the creek of sediment that has built up over the past 60 years. With the exchange of documents, the final stage is set to begin. The waste will be pumped more than 7 kilometres to Kooragang. When completed, small vessels will have easier access and the creek will have a healthier flushing.
That'll mean that Throsby will be all tidied up. The creek will be dredged to a navigable depth. We'll be able to get small craft in, and the whole area will be tidied up, and the water will be allowed to let flow. That should help with flushing of the creek.
Mr Bruce says the dredging will have little impact on marine life in the creek, nor will the year-long dredging be a noise problem for local residents. The project is associated with the Honeysuckle Redevelopment Corporation along with the Hunter Catchment Management Trust.
We've gone a little wider, not so much deeper, but a little wider, and I think the daily flushing and the amount of silt being stopped from coming from upstream, we must have an improvement this time.
Amanda Bolger, NBN News.
The Taree City Council has welcomed in principle developer Stand Estates' proposal for a large-scale shopping centre in the city. The complex is likely to include a Big W store, which will be built over the Gormley Place car park and properties fronting Albert, Winter and Manning Streets.
That proposal will involve a discount department store, supermarket and specialty shops, and of course associated car parking.
Condition of the development would be for extra parking places, and this should be accommodated in a new undercover complex. A development application is expected within a month, and work on the project should start early next year.
It's a very major multi-million-dollar proposal, of course, so there will be enormous injection into the local economy during the construction phase. But I think as far as an ongoing benefit is concerned, it will really establish Taree as a major regional commercial centre.
It's expected the development will bring about 500 new jobs into the city centre, and council believes such a move is a step toward ensuring the economic viability of retail in Taree.
I think we've all seen the impact on country towns, commercial centres, where major retail development is taken right out of the heart of the CBD, and we don't want to see that happen. We want to see the Taree CBD consolidated and become a vibrant commercial centre.
$34,500 bales are on offer at the three-day sale. After prices hit 835 cents per kilogram at Goulburn earlier this month, or more than double the same price last year, confidence is high.
I think the industry is getting back on its feet.
The fine wool prices are pushing up rates. The broader fleece is not so popular. With some farmers moving out of wool and the drought cutting production, there is less of the golden fleece around, and this is forcing up the price.
I think a lot of the northwestern fellas, it's fair to say, would be 30 to 50% of what they could produce 3 years ago.
It's thought Goulburn's prices may have been artificially high. Prices dropped slightly at Sydney and should remain constant in Newcastle. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Like the rest of the squad, Paul Harrigan was put through a fitness test in Sydney today, and while many considered him a certainty for the tour, confirmation of his selection delighted the 25-year-old.
Playing for Australia is the ultimate, and I think a Kangaroo Tour is the next step up.
As expected, competition to make the squad was intense with some notable omissions, but the rivalry amongst the 28 for the test team is likely to be just as fierce. The chief confident of holding on to his position in the first 13, despite missing the tour openers through suspension.
I'll be missing in the first 3 games, which is a decided disadvantage, but I've got 2 games to stake claims, and I'll certainly be making the most of those 2.
And as mentioned on NBN last night, rumours that Harrigan was set to leave Newcastle have once again been scoffed at.
I'm a Newcastle boy through and through, and I'm not planning on going anywhere at the moment.
Last November, traffic lights and a pedestrian access way that had been in the town for years were removed. It was part of a Greater Taree City Council and RTA decision to change the conditions in the main street. There have been direct consequences, including a notable drop in trading on the eastern side. The reason? People can't get across the highway traffic. More than 400 people have signed a petition that's been circulating around shops for the past 2 weeks.
I would have been quite happy if we had got 100 or so people that petitioned with individual letters, but we have many hundreds there now, which are all asking that the pedestrian crossing be reinstated.
As it stands, many act as though the crossing is still there. Councillor David West is rallying support for traffic lights at the location. He'll take the petition to the Council Traffic Committee meeting on Thursday. He says the RTA is happy with the status quo and it's up to the community to bring the issue to its attention.
There is a great need. Our population is fairly elderly, and as a result of that we need to protect them. One life lost 5 years before the bypass goes through, it's far too long.
Tracy Walsh, NBN News. Eleven firefighting units have been on duty in the Wangwalk State Forest, where thousands of hectares have been burning furiously. It's been the main area of concern, bordering on private property at Karakai. Fire Control Officer Ian Stewart witnessed the efforts to control the flames, recording them on a video camera. He says there's one main reason fires spread to the area in the last few days.
There's been probably more country burnt hazard reduction wise than we lost in all of the January fires, and on a real bad day we tend to get a lot of stumps and things like that blowing up, and that's what's caused most of the outbreaks that we have now.
From the air, 19 fires have been counted as active throughout the Shire, most of which are now under control. However, inaccessible mountainous areas along the Kyle Range continue to burn in the direction of Gloucester. Tracy Walsh, NBN News.
Winning the toss and batting, Tasmania made a cautious start. Opener Dean Hill's given a life on 3, dropped by wicketkeeper David Brown off the bowling of Lincoln Woods. He was later dismissed by Simon Dillon. His partner Jamie Cox looked comfortable before he was trapped leg before by Stephen Mace for 30. This brought 2 of Australia's best young talents to the crease in Ricky Ponting and Michael Di Venuto. The right-handed Ponting was at his elegant best, while Di Venuto was also in good touch. The pair guided the visitors to safety. Tasmania 2 for 135 at lunch, then dominated the afternoon session. Ponting finally out for 93 and Di Venuto 108. At the declaration, Sean Young was unbeaten on 59, Rod Tucker on 27. The pick of the Newcastle bowlers, Dillon with 1 for 22.
Over the last decade, Australia has been at the forefront in AIDS education, but still it seems the message is not getting through to some high-risk groups. The Hunt Area Health Service today announced its strategy to reduce the spread of the disease.
We need more effort in the educational health promotion area than we do in the treatment and care services.
Statistics indicate 300 to 400 people are living with HIV in the Hunter. Every month, 1 person in the region dies of AIDS. More will be done to educate those at risk, such as prostitutes who work the streets.
It's really important that we give them a lot of support in terms of information and guidance as to safe sex practices and what they should be doing.
The strategy also advocates expanding health services. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
A commission of inquiry has approved the Bengala mine 4 kilometres west of Muswellbrook, and smaller landholders say they accept the umpire's decision. But neighbour Rosemount Wines has appealed that decision to the Land and Environment Court, alleging breaches of Muswellbrook's local environment plan. It claims the mine will pollute the Hunter River and cover vines with coal dust. But the Bengalla Property Owners Association has branded claims of environmental damage as hypocritical. Spokesperson Sid Reynolds says the wind that will blow coal dust onto properties is the same wind that already carries deadly chemicals from pesticide spraying. He says local farmers have lived in limbo for too long. They just want to be paid out so they can get on with their lives. Tomorrow, Rosemount Wines will join with other vineyards, Horse Studs, the Tourism Task Force and Greenpeace to form the Hunter Valley Action Alliance in a push for an environmental plan for the region. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
Investigators were looking for any possible clues this morning after the fire under a block of units in Railway Street, Cooks Hill.
About 3 a.m. this morning, the neighbours around heard an explosion. When they looked out the windows, they saw the garage area well alight.
The damage bill will run into the thousands of dollars. The garage area was blackened in the blaze, while electrical wires and water pipes were damaged and several cars blistered by the intense heat. Fortunately, the fire was controlled before it damaged the upstairs units. Police are investigating the possibility of arson. But locals believe there is no question this blaze was deliberately lit. There have been a spate of small fires here in the last week, and the residents are worried the next fire could be far more serious.
I've got 2 little kids that I've got to look after, and it's not real good with it happening all the time like this, 3 in 1 week.
The units were also damaged by fire 4 years ago. Peter Ryan, NBN News. With winds topping 50 kilometres an hour, firefighters weren't too sure which way to turn. At Buchanan near Curry, champion Speedway driver John Pine was fighting to save his near-new home, watering the roof and gutters as the fire edged closer.
Well, the fire's just come up and it keeps changing all the time, and it keeps going away and coming back, and it's jumping paddocks. It's just it's unreal what it's doing, and I can feel for what the other people have been through with these fires.
It was a terrifying 2 hours for the Pine family. Fire units stood guard ready for the worst as the tea trees burst into flames. Just down the road, an ostrich farm was ringed by fire. Somehow all the birds survived. The strong winds carried embers kilometres away, igniting spot fires, making the firefighters' job near impossible. Fire Superintendent Richard Drinkall took a tour of the area via the NBN chopper. With a bird's eye view, he could make a plan of attack. The fire had burnt over a 3-kilometre stretch from Curry to Buchanan. By 3 o'clock, everything was under control.
There were some assets at risk in the area, and with the speed that it was travelling across the grass and through the bush, we had our work cut out there for a while.
No property was damaged. The firefighters again controlling the blaze with courage and skill. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Powerboat enthusiasts were fine-tuning their machines in preparation for this weekend's Hunter Valley Championships run by the Raymond Terrace Aquatics Club. The event is one of the biggest race meetings in the Hunter and serves as a lead-in to the state titles next month. As a result, it's attracted a crack field.
We've got some good boats coming up. Brian McCosker and Fury Marine from up Taru Way. Brian's the Unlimited Racing Runabout Champion for 94. And Mark Staunton from Sydney, he's bringing his Formula 1 tunnel boat up to race against them as well.
Among the locals hoping to do well is Larry Ray from Rutherford in his boat Sacrifice, plus brothers Russell and Len Everingham, who'll be driving Six Pack and Alibi. Also looking for a strong performance, Doug Dewar from Maitland in 22-year-old Bewitched, one of the oldest boats in the fleet. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
Family and friends placed flowers at the crash site this afternoon, the ordeal too much for some relatives. Yesterday, 23-year-old Jason Sullivan from Valentine had been alive and well, but in the early hours of this morning, everything went tragically wrong.
Motorcyclist failed to stop and a chase pursuit ensued.
Chalk marks the last few fatal seconds of Sullivan's life, the bike hitting a road sign on the side of the Pacific Highway at Adamstown Heights. The impact coming after a 5-kilometre game of cat and mouse, police calling the chase off only moments before disaster.
They came around a corner on the highway near Northcott Road and found the cyclist had run into the side of the road and the rider of the cyclist was laying on the ground.
The coroner and police internal affairs are investigating. But a lucky escape for a man just after 5 o'clock this morning when his car veered to the wrong side of Park Avenue at Katara. The car jumped the gutter, hit a pole before landing in the front yard of a house. The battery of the car jolted free, tearing a hole in the house less than half a metre from a bedroom window. The car ruptured a water main and just missed a gas meter. The man escaped with minor injuries, but neighbours say this tricky winding road will claim a life if drivers don't slow down.
This young fella this morning was very, very lucky. We're going to have a fatal accident very shortly if something doesn't happen.
Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
Hundreds of artworks from all over the state began arriving at the Newcastle City Hall banquet room from early afternoon. In all, 480 pieces have been entered in the annual indoor art exhibition, which will be judged by Newcastle artist Bill Freeman. The works are classified in 6 sections, including contemporary or traditional painting, miniature painting and works on paper. Organisers say this year's show has attracted a wide variety of themes, utilising a mixture of mediums, including pen and ink and oil on canvas. The exhibition will be officially launched by the Lord Mayor tomorrow night and open for public inspection each day of Matara from 9 a.m. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
It was a fearsome pace line-up that was paraded at Marathon Stadium, the Knights to take on Thompson, Gilmore, Pascoe and Lawson. But it was Pascoe who started the game in the unfamiliar role at the top of the order. One of Test cricket's worst ever number 11s received a bit of his own medicine from Jamie Ainscough before showing he may have improved with age, swatting the second ball to the boundary. Moments later, the true Pascoe returned, bowled by the Knights' Adam Muir. The match continues at Marathon under lights tonight. In time, there was also plenty of soccer veterans on show at the opening day of the Kanga Cup Masters tournament at Austral Park in Newcastle. Like Tomo and Pascoe, many had lost a few yards in pace, but the skills from yesteryear were still apparent. The competition continues tomorrow, the final at 3:30. The 12th Annual Classic was moved from South Bar Beach to Dixon Park this morning. The 140 competitors still faced with a choppy wave. One of the favourites, Australian longboard representative Peter Sharp, won his heat in the over 35 Masters, but was second in the 9-foot heat behind Newcastle's national champion Doug Halliday. The sou'westerly also made life uncomfortable for Central Coast jet skiers Warren Hearn and Craig Best. The pair arrived in Newcastle Harbour this afternoon, 16 days after leaving Cairns, in a bid to establish a world marathon jet ski record and raise money for children's hospitals. Meantime, heats for the Garden City Matara VS Cup were contested on the harbour this afternoon. The Cup is being used as a forerunner to the Australian Championships in January, with national champion John Winning taking out all 3 heats today.
Conditions were ideal when the search resumed for 24-year-old Paul Benham. A police helicopter scanned the lake from above as 5 divers searched below. Numerous boats also assisted in the wide search between Greenpoint and Coal Point.
They're having a difficult task, the divers and the police launch, because of this expanse of water.
Benham, a coal miner, disappeared yesterday after this 5.8-metre catamaran capsized. His mate searched the immediate area before raising the alarm. A full-scale search was mounted, but was hampered by choppy seas and poor visibility. Little hope was held for the man last night, and as each hour passed today, it became more likely that he wouldn't be found alive. Police say the most likely explanation is that Benham drowned after being knocked unconscious when the vessel overturned.
He wasn't wearing a life jacket, we believe. But whether that contributed to the accident or not, I'm unable to say at this stage.
Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
Since its inception in 1986, the Lochinvar Indoor Championship has attracted the top dressage combinations in Australia. One such combination this year was Caroline Lieutenant and 14-year-old thoroughbred Tamuchin, which won the Grand Prix event yesterday. Along with the South Coast Maury Bruce, Lieutenant was one of the better-known competitors at the event. Numbers down on last year due to the Queensland Championships being staged at the same time.
Last year this event was the biggest indoor event in Australia. This year they've actually moved it to Sydney, but the organisers here at Lochinvar have kept the tradition going.
Meantime, in lawn bowls, Commonwealth Games gold medalist Rex Johnston has led his side to victory in the Beresfield Spring Carnival Fours. His side, which included Rhett Palmer, Phil Bushby and Steve Cox, beat Wayne Lambourne's team from Maitland City 23-16. It was Johnston's third win in the tournament and his second in succession.